I am pleased to introduce Kathy and Becca. They're here from The Lift, and they're going to have 6 minutes to tell us about it. Here you go, Kathy.
I'm going to read from my script, which I don't usually do, but I mean, I can talk more than 6 minutes in my sleep, so I'm going to try to stay on it. My name is Kathy Hine, and I am the Executive and Operations Director of the Lift Garage. With me today is Becca Tum. She is on the Lift's Board of Directors. I started the Lift almost 3 years ago after seeing a huge need for affordable car repair for low-income people. I worked in social work and church ministry for many years and had many people request money for car repairs to keep their jobs, to get to healthcare appointments, things like that. Knowing nothing about car repair and holding a master's in pastoral ministry, I decided to go back to Dunwoody and get an auto technology degree. After 2 years in automotive school and 2 years of laying groundwork, we opened the doors to the Lift Garage in April of 2013.
And the Lift, our mission is to do quality car repairs for low-income Minnesotans, some of whom are homeless, experiencing homelessness and perhaps living out of their vehicles. We provide that at low cost. We also do free pre-purchase inspections to make sure people are purchasing good cars if they have a car, and offer honest automobile advice. Sometimes that means we suggest not fixing something. The qualifications are you have to be 30% of the median household income, and here in Minnesota that is $18,000 for a family of one or $26,000 for a family of four. Our cost is $15 per hour for the car repair, and we sell the parts at cost. So it's just a pass-through from us, which translates to about each of our repairs being 30% of the average market rate. So if our repair is $100 in market, that would be $300. Our growth, we did open 2.5 years ago. We opened with just volunteer staff 1 day a week and $30,000 in the bank. Today, 2.5 years later, we have 6 paid staff, 5 full-time and 1 part-time. We have $250,000 budget, so $250,000 budget. And we're still growing. We are open 5 days a week now and have 3 car repair bays, whereas in the beginning we had just 1 bay. We have had great press, local, national, CNN, CBS Nightly News, to MinnPost, to so we've gotten some great press, and therefore we've gotten some great donors as well. We have about 500 individual donors and about 30 foundations. And then also some congregations will support us as well. And as Lee introduced just before this, we are a 501c3, and tomorrow is Give to the Max Day, and we are willing to increase our individual donors from 500. Exactly. We do have sustaining donors, like a NPR kind of thing, and through that we get about $2,100 every month. That's where we are financially, and I'll hand it back to Kathy.
Besides fixing cars, we also try to help our folks find and use their voices. So just a brief story about a woman named Shahida who came in to get her car fixed. She had been working a long-term temporary job, and her employer offered her a full-time position, but it was dependent on her having a working vehicle. So she scraped together some money, took out a small loan, and bought a 2004 Chrysler Pacifica. She's a single mom, and so good car for work, good car for the kids. And she brought it into us for some minor repairs, and when we got it up on the lift, we saw that the entire cradle mount, where part of the frame that holds in the engine, was completely rusted out. Very unsafe to drive. And we told her so, and she was, of course, devastated because she had just taken out a loan on this vehicle and, was having a hard time making ends meet. We did a little bit of quick research and found that this was a chronic problem with this particular make and model in a couple of years. And so much so that Chrysler extended the warranty on it by 10 years because they had so many complaints about it. Shahida was about 3 months out of that warranty. So we encouraged her, and we wrote a letter on her behalf, and we encouraged her to approach one of the Chrysler dealers to get see if they would do a good faith repair since she was so close to the warranty. And she said, I can't do that. I don't know anything about that. And we said, well, we'll help you. So we wrote a letter on her behalf, and then we sat down with her and we wrote some talking points and, looked up some numbers, and she said, I'll give it a try. We didn't hear from her for a time, and then about a month later she comes in, says, well, I tried one dealer and they said no, but then I was feeling all inspired by the information you gave me, so I tried another dealer and he said yes. So they did $5,000 worth of repairs for free, and which was amazing. And then we were able to do the minor repairs she came in for first, and she is on her way, keeping her life together. So we try to also help people advocate for themselves and find their own voice to empower their lives. So our biggest challenge is that the demand far outstrips the capacity we have. As you heard Becca say, we have grown exponentially in a pretty short period of time, and we've tried to balance meeting the huge demand with being smart in our growth and not overextending ourselves. But the fact is that remains that we have a 3-month waiting list for our services. What's interesting to me is that in July of 2013, we were open 1 day a week using volunteers with one bay. We completed 4 car repairs in July of 2013, and we had a 3-month waiting list. Fast forward to July of 2015 with 5 days a week, 3 bays, paid staff. We did 46 car repairs in July of 2015, and we have a 3-month waiting list. And we can't get our heads around how do we meet this huge demand. So that's one of the challenges we continue to face and would love your insights on if you have any. And just, in the nonprofit world, we are so dependent on outside sources of funding. And so just wildly expanding without any real assurance of continuing funding to meet that expansion is fairly risky. And so we're trying to live in that tension a little bit. The other piece of that scheduling problem that we struggle with is right now everything is on a first come, first served basis with a few minor exceptions because we've tried different things, but this seems to be the best scheduling model. But yesterday, for example, we had a guy who just stopped by, so it's appointment only, but we had a guy who just stopped by and said, I'm living in my van and I don't have heat. And it's getting to be winter, and we said our next available appointment is February 4th. And he said, that doesn't really help me now, does it? So we told him to call back later in the day and just check in, which he did, and luckily we'd had a cancellation, so we got him in, but that was just pure luck on his part. But we know that's not the best way we can be meeting everybody's needs, but we're not always sure how to best triage. So basically, we would love to hear any questions you have or thoughts you have about how we might address those concerns. Yep.
So do you use a combination of volunteer and paid mechanics?
Yes, mostly paid mechanics. So we have 2 full-time and 1 part-time paid techs. I'm a trained tech. I do this a lot more than I do that anymore. And then we have a handful of volunteer mechanics, but they're inconsistent. So.
Do you actively recruit volunteer mechanics?
We do. One of the challenges I've found, and I totally get this, is that people who have enough training and skill to do the kind of repairs we're doing are people who are typically doing this full-time all week long. And they say that's the last thing I want to do in my free time is fix more cars, which I get. So that's one of the places we've run into some trouble.
Right. I was just thinking of like the Habitat for Humanity business model where it seems like a lot of the people that get a lot of work done or at least rally some other like less skilled volunteers are the people who are like retired carpenters and so forth.
Yep.
So I was just thinking of my brother-in-law who just recently sold a shop and retired, and would this be
send him my way. We'd love to talk to him. It gets a little more tricky with us because our insurance gets particular because there's so much liability in fixing people's brakes and things that they get nervous about low-skilled people, people without much skills or experience fixing brakes and things. But it's certainly, we're willing to talk with anybody who might be interested.
How do you guys prioritize the work? I mean, obviously changing the oil is different than like a head gasket. So
Right.
have you thought of a system to kind of make that efficient?
Yes and no. So we've prioritized in certain things. So we only do safety and drivability. So if somebody comes to us and says, my passenger window won't roll down, I'm sorry, that sucks, and we're not going to spend time doing that. We don't do any air conditioning work. We're not going to fix your radio. We're not going to, anything that's not really essential to the safety and drivability. We also made a conscious decision not to do really big jobs like transmissions or head gaskets. And a couple of reasons for that. One, most of the cars we're seeing are circa 1990s with 200,000 plus miles, and really they're not in the greatest of shape to even do a new transmission, even at our cost. It's just not the best investment. And some, it's a capacity question. We can get 10 brake jobs out the door in the time we can do one head gasket. And so so that's some of the priority we struggle with. So everything else is kind of first come, first serve, and that's where it gets a little questionable because, obviously a person having no heat in December is a little more pressing maybe than somebody who, has something else less pressing going on. We do everything over the phone initially to make the appointment, and so it can be hard to discern the magnitude of the problem over the phone, especially we use a lot of volunteers on the front end on the phone, and they don't always know all the questions to ask. So, we've had people say, I need brakes, which, we all can agree is a serious concern, and then so we'll try to arrange it to get somebody in, and they'll just have a squeak in their brakes. That's nothing of safety or any concern. And then somebody else will say, we need brakes, and we get them in here, and it's like they're like Fred Flintstoning the car. They're just like, they have to be using their feet to stop this thing because there's no other way this car is stopping. And so to try to, triage that based on I need brakes is challenging.
Well, it's good that you added that word triage. Chicago hospital did 10 years ago did something where they essentially, like, people complaining about heart attacks, and so they had a very quick process to determine whether they were actually having a heart attack or not. So something similar to that, where you guys have a process, maybe it's a set of questions on the phone that says X, Y, and Z, and then you can say, all right, there's a higher chance that this guy is Fred Flintstone versus he's got a squeaky brake. So just like more efficient processes like that might help.
Okay, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Capacity issue.
Thank you.
From your constraints of capacity, are you thinking you need another facility, more labor, combination of both?
I'm not sure if everybody could hear the question he asked. Are we thinking we need more labor, another facility? That certainly would help. Some of it is just a pure capacity issue. Again, I get nervous because running a shop is an expensive venture and a lot of overhead, and so I get nervous about just continuing to expand to meet the demand without knowing if the Bremer Foundation is going to come through again next year, or if our 500 donors are going to keep giving to us, or and so when we're so dependent on other people's generosity or funding priorities or things like that, we're trying to be smart in how we grow. So, yep. Sorry.
It appears to me 24/7 is an obvious answer. Right? I'm dead serious.
I believe you. I'm too old and tired for that. But
if you got 3 bays available and you got 3 mechanics working those 3 bays, the obvious answer is hire a couple more mechanics and let them work all night long. I'm going to drop the car off and stop back in 4 days anyway. I don't care what hour it's fixed at. And that just seems real obvious. Is that a doable? And it might be a good idea with people who are looking at driving tanks down the road with brakes bad. Making an appointment for 3 months from now is ridiculous. You ought to have them stop by, take a look, and find out on a 1 to 10 scale, can you wait for us, or do you need to do something else? Because your $50 brake job is going to turn into a $500 brake job if you drive it for 3 more months.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that last thing, and we've kicked that idea around quite a bit. Like, should everybody have to come in first for an assessment before they get an appointment, which we haven't ruled out. Some of the challenges we face are that probably about 25 to 30% of our folks have to have their vehicle towed to us. We don't have a tow truck or any money to pay for that tow. They don't have any money, so we've been trying to, we've got a couple of towing partners who give discounted rates. I'm still trying to give somebody that'll just give us, X number of free tows per month that we could use for our customers. But so for somebody to tow it to us, we only get 4 parking spots with our lease. So we don't have room for a car to stay for, a month or 2 months till their appointment. So they'd have to tow it away and then get it towed back. So that's one challenge. But we see a lot of cars that it's like we can't in good conscience, once it's here, not fix it, and so then it becomes more than an assessment appointment. So we haven't ruled it out, but we're certainly thinking on it. And yeah, I think our actual next step before we would open another facility in terms of expansion would be opening 7 days a week at the place we're in, because that obviously would cut back on, we're paying the same rent whether we're there 5 days a week or 7 days a week, or so I think that would be the obvious next step. But again, every staff, everything costs money. So trying to be smart that way. Thanks.
So like approaching it from like a business standpoint, not just the nonprofit side,
Please.
how can you guys be profitable? Because when I hear a problem like you've got a 3-month waiting list, like for a restaurant, that means, hey, we can raise our prices and that will kind of
Exactly.
balance itself out. I understand the wanting to keep prices low to help people, but what dollars, if you went from $15 an hour to 20, maybe it's not that simple, but could you become profitable, in which case now you can afford to expand and you can afford to help more people?
Great question. Feel free to jump in here. I'm just holding the mic, so.
I'll try that one. I think if we do that, we are filtering out the people we want to serve the most, the lowest income people who can't afford a car repair. And so raising the cost, that's an idea. We've also thought about having a for-profit side. So having one bay where people pay 80% of market rate, and then we filter that right back into the nonprofit side. But with our capacity and our waiting list, if we take one person, one of our mechanics out to do that, then we're not meeting the need of the people who need those car repairs. So we've thought about how can we balance that out, or open another place to do that, or partner with Maury's or something where they can do that. And so we've explored those options, but we don't want to filter out the people who need this the most.
Another piece of that. We also ran some numbers of what if we bumped it up to $25 an hour, again, trying to balance both sides of it. And it was surprising to me how little difference that made in terms of the amount of earned income we made. And it felt like it would disproportionately impact our customers more negatively than it would help us more positively. So.
The question I have, and you might have touched on it, why not approach auto repair centers and have them become Lyft partners, where they or they give you a day, the third Thursday of the month, Maury's will take 2 cars from you, or something like that.
I approached Maury's with that very, Maury Wagner is a graduate of Dunwoody, where I graduated, so I've been trying to use that alumni connection. And he's been very receptive. We've had some great conversations, and I can't get them to, they're like, yes, let's do this, and what if we took, your waiting list for a week at all your GM cars and had our GM dealers fix them. We did that for a week. I'm great, So they're really open in the conversations, and then they just never return my calls or do anything. So any insights for how I can, continue to get businesses to make us a priority? I get that, we're in the list of things to do in a day. We might not be the top, but
One suggestion there
please.
is share your halo effect. The good press that you've gotten,
Yeah.
that halo can extend to Maury's. And hey, call Care 11 or whatever and say, Maury's just took, 3 cars.
Mm-hmm.
The positive press that they get from it may be more valuable to the hit they took on
Right. Yes, yes. Yeah, they absolutely could write it off because we're a nonprofit, so anything they give to us is tax deductible, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, to greater and lesser degrees, but yes, I mean, our parts suppliers are really good. We have accounts with all the kind of the usual suspects, and they give us really good deals, and when I want them to give me even better deals, I just call them and be like, well, Napa said they would do it for this price, which may be mostly true. Yes, yeah, and we tell everybody, and so yes.
Checked out Tires Plus. I mean, I can make an appointment with them same day to get an oil change and do something. You know, in the middle of the day during the week, they're not that busy and they're everywhere.
That's true.
They're everywhere.
They are everywhere. They are everywhere. Yeah, that's why because they're everywhere. But yeah, they would be certainly willing to have some conversations with, and you know, and yes, I'll just stop there. So.
Can you tell us more about your burn rate? Like, what are you spending the most money on? Is it employees? Is it
Staff.
parts? Is it
Yeah.
staff?
The question was, what are we spending the most money on? It's staff, and as we said in the beginning, we used only volunteers. With the demand and all of that, we just weren't able to keep that many volunteers going all the time, and so and to get the quality. I mean, we need to get cars out the door, and we need them not to come back. And even with trained, paid technicians who have a lot of experience, stuff happens, and it's like we don't have time to be refixing something we should have done right in the first place, which doesn't happen very often. But the more volunteers we have, the more that rate increases, unfortunately. So we're trying to, again, all those pieces, as you all know, running businesses.
I'm pretty familiar with Habitat, and how I like the idea and how you have maybe the mechanic or like an electrician, right, where you can have the grunt workers doing the brakes, and then the guy walks over and does an inspection and says, yep, you did this right. And so would there be a way, maybe doing that 24-hour thing, where you would have volunteers who maybe want to come in for an evening and work till midnight, one day a month, and then have one mechanic overseeing 3 bays, and maybe being able to extend the hours so then you're late, a lot of places where they have to work one night extra long, kind of playing with your hours so that you can be open earlier, longer, but not actually manning like 3 bays that whole time.
I
So that
prefer
might-
womaning, but that's just
or
fine.
womaning, or personing, or peopling, or
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. Thank you. Yes.
Your Dunwoody connection, how much capability is there to send? Your Dunwoody connection, how much capability is there to send work to them where their students are?
None. Dunwoody's students, their policy is they only work on other students and faculty's cars. They don't do any outside work whatsoever. And they do lots of really good things for us at Dunwoody. One of my instructors from Dunwoody is on the board, and they've loaned us equipment that we don't have. And there have been times, I mean, they've been really good to us, but that particular piece isn't an option. I haven't had much, I'll just be honest, I haven't explored that option very much, and that's certainly another place to look. So.
One thing that kind of occurred to me about your challenge with the tow trucks and inspections, instead of them coming to you, have you thought about having a crew go out to them,
Yeah, we've kicked that around too. In fact, in the very beginning when we were before we even thought of opening a shop, we thought of opening a mobile, just cheaper, like we'll stock a truck and we'll go to people. And that certainly would be, a possibility. It's, again, a different kind of staffing thing. We have customers from all over, and we don't have any geographic restrictions. So we've got people, yesterday we had somebody from Hastings. We've had people from Albertville, Forest Lake. We did a couple of cars on the range whose families were down here. Their kids were at Children's getting chemo treatments, and they needed car repair. So, but generally speaking, most of our folks are metro area, so that would be certainly worth considering.
That's all the time we have for questions, but the last question we always ask is now, how can this community help you?
Thank you. I would be remiss as the executive director and chief fundraiser for a nonprofit to not say that your donations would be very, very welcome. Tomorrow's Give to the Max Day. Have we mentioned that? Always, like any nonprofit, money always helps. It's not the only thing, but volunteers, but wisdom too. Or if you're interested, you love what you hear today, we're doing really good work, and I'm really proud of it. And I would love to talk with people who might be interested in being on the board, or if you have some particular, governance or financial stuff that you might be interested in sitting on a committee, or you want to just meet with me and, give me some more ideas. Any of those things. I think we're doing, again, really, really well considering how new we are, and we definitely have some challenges to overcome.
There are 2 board openings, actually, and we are voting on them in December, so we're recruiting now, so you can reach out, and we'll be happy to talk.
Thank you very much.